Hello and welcome. This is rooflemonger, and my friends, today I guess we're talking a little bit of a wish list of changes I would like to see for Season 2 of Street Fighter 6. So this is by request, and to be honest, a lot of the changes that can be done in Street Fighter 6 kinda all lay on the drive system, as that's very much at the heart of the game. Although there is some other things I'd like to see changed, but that's sort of the big one. So we're going to be talking a lot of drive system stuff in this video, and of course I'll have timestamps for everything, so you can skip forward to whatever you would like to watch. But yeah, let's talk Season 2 of Street Fighter 6. Obviously, Street Fighter 6, good game, everyone likes it, we all know, but we all were like, it could just be just a little bit better, right? And I think we're all very confident that it's absolutely gonna get there. You take, say, vanilla Street Fighter 4 to Ultra Street Fighter 4 in the end, very different games. Obviously, Street Fighter 5 compared to the final season, from vanilla to final season, also very different games. And Street Fighter 6 is going to have that same road. We're going to have some highs. There's probably going to be a season a year or two from now that's probably going to suck and we're all going to hate it. But then the season after that's going to be the real game we all been waiting for, right? That's how this goes. But obviously, some changes can be done. People like the game. But a lot of the complaints, other than, like character specifics, and we've already covered some videos on, like, say, Honda and Lily, and maybe we'll do another one or two in the future. So this is not going to be about character specifics, but rather about system specifics and some other generalized topics. So first, let's start with the big one. Let's start the show with the showstopper. Let's talk about Drive Rush. So, Drive Rush. Drive Rush, I think, is probably the single most contentious overall topic in Street Fighter 6 over the life of the game. Certainly more early on, Drive Impact was the one. And you'll still find people that are a little sore about it, but we all sort of learned the deal, right? But there's no learning the deal with Drive Rush is sort of the problem. Drive Rush exists, and you just gotta kinda like it. Because there's certainly not much you can do about it, which is the problem, right? Oh, I know DJ is going to Drive Rush at me. Of course he is. What else is he going to do, right? Can you stop it, though? That gets a little harder, even if you know what's coming, right? So how do we tweak around Drive Rush? Because the problem is there's a lot of things you can't tweak without just absolutely breaking the game. Like if you make it come out slower, or you change the frames or whatever, you might wind up ruining like half the combos in the game because they need, frame perfect precision to do whatever they're going to do off the Drive Rush. So just changing a small thing can just break everything else down the line. So it's very difficult because they're certainly not going to rework the entire game. At least I don't think they are. So how do we make Drive Rush more bearable without, crippling its usefulness, right? And to that regard, I got two ideas. And both of them have to do less with, the person doing it and more with the person trying to deal with it. The first of these, I think, is actually fairly easy. So you notice DJ's jumping, right? Because when we Drive Rush, you notice that little bit of a screen just halting in place for a brief moment, right? We call that the screen stop. And the screen stop is there just to let you know the Drive Rush is coming, because if it didn't exist, it would be literally impossible to react to these crazy Drive Rush attacks. And we're going to stop DJ from jumping because I know it's annoying, but I would say increase the screen stop. So the part where the screen just freezes for the briefest of moments when you do your Drive Rush forward, increase that by a frame or two. And I say only a frame or two, just because if you increase it by too much, then it makes every Drive Rush just simply too easy to tell is coming. You would have too much time to react at that point, which is also a bad thing. We don't want to negate the usefulness. But we want the ability for the normal human being to be able to check a Drive Rush when they see it coming. Like, we're in a sterile training room environment right now, so it'll be easier for me to react to things. That's not necessarily real life, right? And there you go. I picked the wrong button. I still lost. I still lost because I picked the wrong button, right? And that's how Drive Rush works sometimes, because there's not even always a right button answer. So if the screen stop is just a frame or two slower when it goes live, it just gives the defending player a frame or two more, just mental time to prepare and get ready to stick a button out there. It doesn't curtail the use of Drive Rush in any way, shape, or form, in my opinion. It just makes it easier to deal with. Now, that said, there's the risk-reward factor as well. So DJ comes in, maybe I check him with this, right? I check him with specifically Manon stand medium punch. Okay, sure. what do I get off that, like, realistically? So if I check on him, I know I'm going to check him. I get my counter hit status, so, like, I can go into quarter circle forward kick, something like that, right? I don't get a lot off it. Conversely, say I screw up, I'm a second too slow or whatever. What does DJ get if he gets it correctly, right? I'm just a little bit too slow to stop him. What does he get instead? Here we go, drive rush. Oh, I got counter hit. Oh, whoops. Oh, no. Oh, no. It's probably game over, right? He gets a lot more than what I get off this interaction, right? So here's one of the things I would like to change, how just drive rush works. We're not changing anything about the mechanic or how the offensive part of it plays. What I want to change is this. So when someone drive rushes at you, and it doesn't matter what they do, it can be a raw drive rush, they can have a button tied behind it, whatever it may be. If they drive rush at you, when you hit them, it's not a counter hit. It is a punish counter instead. And it will always be a punish counter, meaning you get those additional frames and you can do a lot more things. So once again, using stand medium punch here, if I counter hit him out of this, I'm at 4 frames of advantage. And at 4 frames of advantage, I can do basically only what I can normally do at currently stands, right? Like, these are normal combos, it's nothing special. If I want to go into, like, say, twirl to get a medal, that is not a normal combo and counter hit. Like, it'd be cool for, potentially risking my life. I could get just a little bit more damage, build a medal, but no, that's not happening. However, on punish counter, then all of a sudden, this is a natural combo, right? Then I do get that little bit extra damage, I get that medal, I'm a little bit more dangerous, and that's going to be obviously naturally enough across the board for every character. If you have, whatever button you could check somebody with, on punish counter, you're going to find a lot more valuable things than just a regular, just counter hit. Like, say we check this with jab, right? Which is safe, sure. And what do we get off a counter hit with Menno's jab? Not much, really. But what do we get if it was a punish counter instead? If it was a punish counter, then when we stop it with a jab, all of a sudden, we can link into back heavy punch. And then once again, we can go into twirl, build a medal, get a little bit more damage. And naturally, of course, again, this is going to be the case for every character. You're going to get a much more valuable combo. So we don't nerf the drive rush in terms of what it can do, its options available to the offensive player. But if it's always in the punish counter state when they get hit, no matter what they do, then we can get a lot more of a valuable reward for checking them in place. So if someone just does the most brain dead, obvious drive rushes, then if they get checked out, maybe they're going to stop, right? If they start eating more real combos than what we can currently throw at them because it's only ever going to be a counter hit, then that dissuades the raw drive rush, right? That curtails it just in and of itself. We don't got to nerf the frames. We don't got to nerf the offense. If someone just eats one combo too many, it does just a little bit too much damage, they're going to stop doing the raw drive rush, right? So combine both these ideas in place. That screen stop is just a frame or more too than it already is. And I know there's a side effect of it might eat more inputs than it already does. I don't know how we get around that. That's for the people that get paid the big bucks to decide, right? But just a frame or two more screen stop than we already get. And combined with the fact that every check on a drive rush is a guaranteed punish counter no matter what, I think that brings the whole mechanic in line in a very nice way without actually crippling the mechanic and like ruining half the combos in the game. So that's an idea I have. Would love to know your comments on it. And we'll go on to the next thing. Another change I'd like to see the drive system is to drive reversal. So drive reversal, it's got its analogs in all the other games, alpha counters, V reversal, all that kind of stuff. It is certainly a lot weaker than it was in Street Fighter V. Like, let's call it for what it is, a lot weaker, right? Like, it's punishable on block, for one. In Street Fighter V, they're all -2. Now, this is obviously a court design decision they went with, and I guess I won't question them on that, but what I will question is, it's crap. Like, it's really bad. I'm using this example here of Cammy versus Dhalsim just to highlight an example here. So when I'm trying to drive reversal her standing fierce punch, you see she's blocking. It's certainly not that I can't get it. You can. It's just that if you're even a little bit slow, you're going to drop it and then you're going to get punished. So if you're not frame perfect, basically, you're not going to get your drive reversal off. You're not going to get them off you. And not only did you not get them off you, you wasted a lot of bar. and you're going to get punish countered, you're going to lose more bar, and you already lost a little bit of bar by blocking as it stands, right? It's just a feel bad situation all the way down. Because it costs more than what it costs, right? Like, I'm losing the gauge from blocking the move, and then even more gauge of the 2 bars for doing the move. So, in essence, it costs more than just 2 bars. But here's what I'll say. We can leave that as it is, and maybe in later seasons it gets tweaked. I don't know. But here's what should change. This exact scenario of if you're just even a little too slow, it gets blocked, and then you get punished and you die. So the one thing about it is universal, right? So no matter which character you are, it's always going to be 8 frame startup, right? So it's 8 frames for Kimberly, and it's 8 frames for old slow man Dowsum. That's the one universal thing about it, right? So I would say just make it 5 frame startup. So 3 frames faster than it currently is. So those situations where you do it just a bit too slow, then you get punished and you died, 3 frames faster helps alleviate that a bit, right? Depending on your controller, you might have to move your hands around to, hit the 2 heavies to begin with, right? That takes a couple frames in game of timing. So the move just is faster, and when the move is faster, it creates less of those feel bad situations where you made the right call and the move can work, but for whatever reason, you were just a few frames too slow, then you get blocked, and then that might cost you the round just in and of itself, right? Maybe if it's a few frames faster, you could drive reverse like a thing you couldn't drive reverse before. I don't know. Like, I feel, once again, since this is such a titanic investment on your part, you're spending the 2 bars. It's so much more than, Street Fighter V. Like, spending a little bit of your V gauge on a V reverse is like, whatever, who cares? Spending 2 bars in this game is a decision. Like, that is not taken lightly, right? So spending 2 bars on top of the fact you're already losing meter for blocking whatever move you just blocked, which means you're paying even more in 2 bars in the end. So if it had 5 frame startup, it creates less of those feel bad situations. I think everyone can be happy with that. If you can be more safe in your assumption that when you do it, it will actually work, I think at the very least, it'll encourage more players to use it. So once again, that's my idea. It's a smaller buff in the end, but hey, let me know what you think. Now let's move on to the next section. Now, another drive system to talk about is the parry, and specifically the perfect parry. People have been getting up in their feelings about it because, and I don't even disagree, that it's just too easy just to toss one of these out and just see what happens, right? It's very high reward with very, very low risk. So in certain situations, say we're like perfect parrying the jump in or something, right? And obviously perfect parrying carries some damage scaling as well, right? But, we perfect parry the jump in, sure, whatever, but it carries its own inherent counterplay of, we know they're going to try to perfect parry, and they just empty jump throw, and they get the enhanced damage from the throw, because if you parry, and you whiff, and you get thrown, it's going to be big time damage, right? But in a lot of situations where we're just back and forth in neutral, right? And we're doing the old turn taken, right? Okay, I'm not punishable, but it's definitely not my turn anymore. Let's see what's coming next, and while you're just doing that, you get blocked, and you just go blip. And just toss it out just to see what's happening, right? The actual investment is very low because it only costs half a drive bar. And for half a drive bar, you might get the world off of it. Because one of the issues too with the perfect parry is, even if it scales, the reward, if you got a level 3 to back it up, is going to be pretty titanic. Even if we scaled to 25%, right? At the end, if we put a level 3 on it, it's always going to do its minimum damage, which means it's always going to hurt no matter what, basically. And really, like, what's the downside for whiffing? That's the problem in and of itself. Other than you spent half a bar, what's the downside for whiffing? Because if you whiff, you still get the block, right? Like, nothing about whiffing a parry says you're not allowed to block. So, okay, I whiffed, my bad, I'll down back, wait a second, wait out whatever block string coming my way, sure. And in case you're unaware, the one downside, I guess you can call it, of whiffing parry is when you're specifically in the recovery frames, it's always going to be a punish counter throw, right? But those punish counter frames, they don't last that long, like realistically. By the time you saw someone just like flash blue for a split second, it's already almost too late. Like, unless you were literally touching them, like in the corner, it's too late to react with throw. You like walk up and throw them. So maybe that's the answer. Simply on these like tap parry scenarios where you're just fishing, hoping for maximum reward with frankly minimum risk, we add more recovery frames. So now if we know we're going to stay in that punish counter state for longer than we already were, as it currently stands, you're going to have 29 frames of recovery, right? Say we up it to, let's go crazy, let's go to 40, right? We'll add 11 more frames. Then that just might be that extra little amount of time to, oh, I just saw him whiff the parry. I'll take a step forward and chuck him, and then get that punish counter and go from there. Now, from situations where you're further out, that really doesn't change too much, sure, but the bare minimum, you'll still be stuck in that scenario, or at the very least, okay, 11 more frames. I can't do anything other than down back during that time, so the opponent can gain a bit more spacing. But in those scenarios where you're just both kind of in each other's face and just turn blue for a split second, once again, maximum reward, minimum risk. If you add just more frames of recovery, that means that walk forward throw becomes much more of a scary option. It means you're much less inclined to just whiff the parry and see what happens, because you're going to take a lot of damage and you're also going to lose another bar on the punish counter. But if you just add more recovery frames, if you add more guaranteed time someone can be thrown for whiffing the move, especially in these close range scenarios, I feel it will at least curtail its use. It's not just going to be the, okay, I took my turn, I got blocked, let's just try this, see what happens, right? And once again, big reward on hit, very low consequence on whiff. If you add just a little bit more consequence for more chance to get chucked, maybe people will stop doing it as much. But that's just a guess. I think this is one of the harder things that to balance. Honestly, there's not an easy answer, you know, without like changing the whole mechanic as it stands. So once again, like the rest of these, please let me know what you think on the comments below. But that's an idea I have just to stop people just for constantly fishing for the perfect parry and just, you know, seeing what happens. Now let's talk something else I would like to see for season 2. And this doesn't have to do with the game mechanics. I'd like to see some expansion on the concept of World Tour. So World Tour is like, you know, the new player's introduction to the world of Street Fighter. I think for what it is, it works out. Like maybe it's not the greatest quote unquote RPG of all time or whatever, but it's what it needs to be, sure. And I've already made a video on this in the past. If you never went through World Tour, it doesn't end up so well for you, right? Basically, well, let's just call it for what it is. The bad guy wins. You don't really get much out of it. The bad guy wins in the overall plot. And yes, they've been adding more characters. Like you can see here, all the DLC characters like Aki's here. That's great. But there needs to be more meat. A reason to go back. They keep adding all these cosmetics to the game where you can customize your personal avatar, who is your character in World Tour. And they show examples of like, hey, look at me in World Tour using off this cool item, you know. I get a lot of the press releases showing screenshots of World Tour with the new various costumes. But what incentive, other than just talking to the new DLC character, is there to go back into World Tour? Not much, honestly. Like, yeah, they usually add like a new quest or something every patch. But say we continue the story. That'd be fantastic, because to call for what it is, World Tour does not continue the story of Street Fighter at all. It doesn't. It gives you your story, like the player character, but does it expand upon what, you know, happened in Street Fighter 4, Street Fighter 5? No. For being set after Street Fighter 3, there's no mention of the Illuminati other than this like one specific billboard you can see at the top here. That's it, basically. There's no mention of Gil. There's no mention of anything that happened in Street Fighter 3. Street Fighter 5? Any mention of G? Any mention of anything like that? G is supposed to be the boss of Street Fighter 5. Did anything get mentioned there? No, not really. There's no progression of the actual world plot of Street Fighter. So say if you wanted to do anything on that front, hey, I'd be a fan at the very least. We keep expanding the Battle Hub with all these options, and I think World Tour should also be expanded. If you, as a person who has yet to buy Street Fighter 6, hear over the airwaves, over Twitter, over YouTube, over whatever, that there's a storyline expansion, there's more stuff added, then maybe that might be the kick in the butt you need to buy the game. And then that could turn into a lifelong obsession. Who knows? But for, you know, the amount of effort they put into this mode, just to leave it where it is, and especially where they left it on the story, which is ridiculous. The bad guy won once again, right? I think you should keep this going just as much as everything else. Now this one, I think everyone wants this, and I don't know why it is the way it is as it currently stands, but DLC characters. So we have Rashid, we have Aki, we have Ed, we have Akuma coming up, and of course Season 2 will have its own myriad of DLC characters, because of course it will, and it'll happen going on throughout the life of the game. The question and problem is, where is the characters? We're only getting 4 characters for Season 1. For, say, Season 1 of Street Fighter V, we got 6 characters. For Season 2, we got 6 characters. For Season 3, we got 6 characters. For Season 4, we got 6 characters. For Season 5, it's the only one where we kind of, quote-unquote, got cut short, we got 5 characters. And yet Street Fighter 6 only comes with 4 out of the gate. And I know everybody's disappointed with that. To the point where I'm not sure where the marketing's at or whatever, but we could definitely feel it. The wait between Aki and Ed was awful. It was a glacial amount of time with like no real new content for the game. Like, yes, there was all the Battle Hub stuff, which I know has its audience, sure, but it's not the core competitive audience. Core competitive audience, which if you're watching this video, I'm assuming you are, they want characters. They want a bit more meaty stuff, right? And characters is what we're not getting. So once again, I don't know the logic here, but at least 5 characters per season this time around. So we can avoid that gigantic wait, that glacial wait between Aki and Ed. We don't want to repeat that. If we had a 5th character, you could stick a character in between that, and then it would make it much more manageable. So hopefully 6 would be nice, but at least 5 characters per season. Like, yeah, when we're years down the line, we got a gigantic roster, knowing every matchup can get difficult. Hey, that's every fighting game. That's every fighting game. Even if we only have 4 characters a season, you know, when we're 5 years down the line, the roster's still going to be gigantic either way, right? So what is a couple more? So hey, Capcom, we'll give you money for more characters. You know, I want to see Hakan, because I'm a man of the people. Some other people, maybe they want to see, you know, less popular characters that don't matter as much as Hakan, like Alex or Makoto or something like that. But give us those characters. Trust me, people will buy them. We will support them. This is what we're here for. We want to play with more cool characters, right? So why 4 for Season 1? Hey, maybe we'll never know. But going forward, at least 5, right? Give us some more fun things to play with. We want to play the game for years to come, so help us help you support the game, right? So more characters, let's do it. And what about everything else? Like Drive Impact, I think now that we've had enough time, it's a very emotional mechanic, sure, but I think we're all good with it, right? It has its obvious strengths, it has its obvious weaknesses. And you can see, you know, at the highest level of play, people definitely aren't throwing these out left and right randomly, right? So I think it's mostly solved itself. But then there's the other stuff, right? Like, what about our pal, the throw loop? The throw loop, due to the sheer fact Ed has a throw loop, tells me throw loops are here to stay one way or another. Ed, there's no way he's not designed at least some way with Season 2 in mind. And the fact that they gave him a throw loop, and they gave him one of the easiest, one of the best throw loops, with multiple options at that, right? Because you can do it through dashes, you can do it through his command dash, right? He's got a lot of ways you can do it. So I don't think they're going anywhere. Throw loops are definitely another sore spot. I don't like them myself, but given Ed, I don't think they have any plan to change them. I would love to see a throw loop at least cost something. Like, I would love to see a throw loop have to be on the back at least off of a drive rush, right? So you have to spend some kind of resource, like it costs you something other than this meterless guess or die scenario. So that's some of my thoughts on the matter. Obviously, there's going to be things that are going to be in Season 2 that none of us can anticipate. Capcom will certainly zig in some way, some form when we think they're going to zag. Some character's going to get nerfed that doesn't deserve it. Someone's going to get buffed that doesn't deserve it. That's how every fighting game goes. All I know is we've been waiting a very long time. Looks like at this point, looks like we're going to be waiting the entire year, right? If Akuma comes out in May, that means Season 2 probably comes out in June, and that means we waited the whole year from the launch of the game to Season 2. And so this patch better be something, right? This better change a lot. We've gone through the game, and we got a couple, like we just had the little patch not too long ago that changed a couple things, like Ryu got a little bit better, sure, right? But This better be a sizable patch. It maybe even comes with a name. Maybe this will be Super Street Fighter 6. This will be Street Fighter 6 Arcade Edition, Ultra Street, like who knows, right? But it better be big, basically. That's what we're all hoping for. And I just hope we all get what we want. Like, if you play top tier, maybe you'll get like a little nerf, but they'll still be very strong. If you play the garbage characters, hopefully they get better. And hopefully the game mechanics can get buffed and changed or nerfed in a way that makes it fun and interesting for everyone. Basically, I just want Season 2 to be the best game it can be, and I know all of you think the same. But that said, that's my thoughts. That's the video. And hey, let me know what you think. But other than that, thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well, and go out and play some Street Fighter.